Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Scorpio for February 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog. I write about astrology, but other topics as well, including a series on astrology and crystals that I've either just posted or will be posting very soon, depending on when you're watching this. So you can see what crystals go really well for your sign. So what's going on in the month of February? We have eclipses. Bum, bum, bum. They're always game changers. We also have the shadow of Venus retrograde. Venus rules love, beauty, money, aesthetics, self-esteem. So we've got a lot that's coming up being in the shadow period of this once in every 18-month personal planet retrograde for Venus. So we're going to talk about how to manage eclipses, what the Venus retrograde energies mean, and I also want to talk about something specific for the placements of the eclipses for Scorpio in particular. So I'm calling the theme of this month for Scorpios improving family dynamics, and this is stemming from the solar eclipse occurring for Scorpio, and this is for all early, middle, and late degree placements in the fourth house. The solar eclipse on February 26th is the last eclipse in the Pisces Virgo cycle that started at the beginning of 2015. It's a long-term theme that's been going on. And solar eclipses bring openings. So solar eclipses happen at new moons. New moons always bring openings, but solar eclipse new moons are like new potentials in triplicate. It's times 3. So it's either 3 things come that are new openings or a really big new opening. And there are different areas that this can take place in. It can have to do with the sign that the eclipse is in. But when we talk about specifically for each sign, what it looks like for you, we're looking at the house that it falls in. And for all of you, this will be the 4th house. So the house is the house of family. This is home and family. This could very well be, real estate ventures, something involving your actual house, things from your childhood that are relating to dynamics now. But family dynamics, it's a very, very big topic. And let's face it, most of the people I know that are, we'll say, people of magic, right? We're born to muggles, right? So, and whether you consider yourself in that division or whether you have a totally different reality, we still often will look at our parents and our family as if they're from a different planet because we don't resonate with them, and it's hard to believe sometimes that we're part of the same family unit, which makes holidays, which makes gatherings, which makes relating very challenging. So when we have a solar eclipse, this big new opening of a potential coming into the family dynamics, we have a really amazing chance to rectify some things that are not only limiting our relationships with our families, but also limiting our relationships with our new families that we've made and our goals in life. Because whenever we have things that are not dealt with from our past, it limits how we walk in the world. It affects how we walk in the world. Things that happen to us before the age of 7 are things that imprint us below the scar level. So we experience life in these 7-year cycles. And so it starts in that period of time. If you believe in past lives, it starts sooner than that. But we can all agree that at bare minimum, things that happen in your childhood echo out into your adulthood. And this 4th house is the house of childhood. So I have an affirmation for you for this month. I step into a new level of ease and comfort in my family dynamics. And this is going to be an area of great opportunity. Like I said before, for some of you, this might have nothing to do with family. This could have just to do with your home. A new home, moving into a new home, building a new home, moving to a new location, someone else moving into your home, improving your house, expanding your house, fixing up your house, making a real estate deal that's of importance, buying a second home. There are a lot of ways that home can look So whether it's home, the relationships, the psychology of home, or whether it's actual physical location, this rules it all. One ring to rule them all. So we've got this opening in that area of your life. Then we have this fullness, this coming to completion with the lunar eclipse, the full moon. So on February 10th, we have the full moon at 22 degrees of Leo. This is a continuation of the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle that started in the middle of 2016 and continues into the middle of 2019 in its influence. So themes that were brought up around then are continuing now. For the general astrology, these themes could have to do with anything Leo, children, conception, child rearing, childbearing, creative projects, if your creative projects are your babies, hobbies, true love, romance. That could all be something coming to a head, coming to completion, coming to fruition at this time. But specific for Scorpios, for the house, most Scorpio placements, early and middle, definitely, are going to have this full moon lunar eclipse, this triplicate energy of full moon drama, completion, fruition, emotion, happen in the 10th house of career and work. So all early and middle degree placements and some late degree placements will have it be in the 10th house. The rest of you late degree placements will actually have this happen in the 9th house. You figure out your designation by seeing when your birthday, or if you're watching for your rising sign, what degree. If you break up the 30 days that the sun is in Scorpio into increments of 10, so the first 10 days the sun is in Scorpio, that's the early degree placements. The second 10 degrees is the middle, and the last 10 degrees is the late. Same thing for your rising sign. If 0 to 9 degrees, that's early, 10 to 19, middle, and 20 to 29, that's late degree. So most of you are going to have this completion, fruition, welling up, drama, something to deal with, something to be proud of, recognition, something finally coming through in your 10th house, which is the house of career, work, and life purpose. This is also the house of fathers. So some people might find that their fathers need some attention, or a male figure in their life. Sometimes I see mom come into this place if it's like a really strong mom who did the job of mom and dad. I will occasionally see her pop up here when there's aspects in the 10th house. But in any case, authority figures, bosses, anything having to do with work, raises, recognition, but it could be dramatic, full moons. Even though this full moon is actually well aspected, it tends to bring excess emotion. I always describe full moons like a dog shaking off water when they just get wet. Water relates to emotion, and at full moons, we shake off our emotional field, so emotions build up over the month, build up, and then the full moon comes and we shake it off. When it's a lunar eclipse, it's like emotions times 3, like I said, happy, or sad, or both, bittersweet. So expect some action in that area of your life for most of you. For those of you later degree placements who have this occurring in your 9th house, this could have to do with your work as well, especially if you have your work related to publishing, broadcasting, speaking, teaching, learning, any educational arenas, international business, different countries, different cultures, different languages, churches, spirituality. And if you don't have your work in those arenas, anything that I just listed could come up at this full moon. For some people, when they have the lunar eclipse there, it could bring a dark night of the soul, or it could bring a test to what you believe spiritually, and possibly a shift in what you believe spiritually. It very much relates to the bigger picture and how you see the grander scheme of things. So these are some of the things that are specific for Scorpio. Now I want to talk about this month as it relates to Venus being in retrograde in March, but the shadow period occurring now, because Venus rules love, beauty, and money. So the eclipses could be testing our money and love. The Venus retrograde is definitely going to test them. And there's also this aspect with Saturn and Venus that is going on this year that is testing the foundation of our love and beauty and our self-esteem. And a lot of times, things going on with money and things going on in a relationship have a direct correlation to our self-esteem and how we think about ourselves and how we feel about ourselves, because we act different depending on how we feel. And it's complicated because sometimes this is unconscious. We only, they say that, well, we'll use the iceberg example. When you see an iceberg sticking up, if you were to look under the water, it's part of this big, ice mountain, And that's the comparison of the ratio of our consciousness to our unconsciousness. Our consciousness, what we're aware of, what we can see readily, is about 10, no more than 20% of our total experience. Most of our total experience is stuff we don't see. It's buried deep in the unconscious mind. So we could be having manifestations from things we feel about ourselves that we don't even know is there. And so we're getting tested with what we believe and how it's affecting everything else in our lives. So it's like this time to do the work and going back over anything as it relates to love and beauty and money and self-esteem. So I want to go into more details about that, plus give you some days that carry sweet energy and some other days that have challenging energy, and talk about an overall game plan about being the spider, which is the theme of eclipse time. I'm calling the general theme of this month for all signs the tiptoe water test. When you go to the beach or somewhere where there's water, and rather than just jumping right into the water, you stick your toe in, just the tip of your toe, to see what the water temperature is. And unless you're in a very warm climate, usually the water is kind of cold, right? And so maybe you have to put your feet in and then get up to your knees. It makes me think of when I was little. I grew up in New York City, and my cousin, who was like a sister to me more than my cousin, and she was a little bit older than me, and she would taunt me, and she'd say, "Stop being such a sissy, just jump in the water." And if you've ever gone swimming in the Atlantic Ocean, it's very cold. So I would put my toe in and say, "Oh gosh, I don't want to go in," and then it would take me time to get used to it. And then she would jump right in. And I'm not saying that in general there's one way of being better than the other. But when we're talking about astrological rhythms at play, this is very poignant, because there is a time to jump right in. And there's a time to do the tiptoe water test and go in and get used to it with your ankles, and then slowly go in and get used to it with your knees, etc. And that's the time that we're working with in February, because even though we technically don't have any planets, personal planets, meaning the ones closest to us, like Mercury, Venus, Mars, are usually the ones we talk about being retrograde, the personal planets, we don't have any of that happening technically in February. But we just got past Mercury retrograde and its shadow period, and we've started Venus retrograde shadow period. Venus goes retrograde from March 4th through April 15th. Venus retrograde happens around every year and a half. I definitely recommend you listen to my Venus retrograde video, because Venus rules love, beauty, and money. So everything about relationships and finances and business decisions and artistic journeys and beauty decisions all are housed under this Venus retrograde energy, even in February, because the shadow period has started. So I go into a massive amount of detail about what to do, what not to do, and why in that video that I'm not going to cover in this. So you definitely need to listen to that as a supplement to this video, and really pay attention to that for February, March, and April. So when we're in a shadow period of a retrograde, like we are in February, right? It doesn't go retrograde till March 4th, but the shadow period started at the end of January. So the whole month of February, every day we get closer to March, is getting deeper in this Venus retrograde energy. It's kind of like when you go to the beach. If you haven't crossed over the bridge yet to the island that the beach is on, you start seeing little beachwear, tourist places and little tiki huts and things that feel beachy, but you're not at the beach yet, but the beach vibe is there, So that's what a shadow period is like. It's like it starts acting as if you're there, even though you're not officially. And it's very relevant because the same rules pretty much apply for the shadow period as they do for the retrograde. And that is to not jump into anything that's a long-term commitment if you can possibly help it. Now, This is doubly so because this is a rule of the retrogrades, and this is also one of the things that we talk about with eclipses. February holds 2 eclipses. We have a full moon eclipse on February 10th, and we talked about that some. That's the lunar eclipse at 22 degrees of Leo. And we've got that solar eclipse on February 26th, that's at 8 degrees of Pisces. So when we talked about that as well, so the general energy of eclipse is kind of like that be the spider energy. You weave your web and then you let things come to you. And you act as is necessary, but not unnecessarily and not without caution. So that's the story of the energy of February is, you want to tiptoe in, you want to get used to the water, you want to try things on. It's a wonderful time for going back over things. So anything that starts with the word or the prefix RE, redoing, resting, couples therapy is something that's amazing for retrogrades. Going back to romantic places that you've been with your partner before, bringing the magic back, spending more time with your partner, anything that you're kind of returning back to within your relationship. And it doesn't have to only be a challenging thing. Sometimes Venus retrograde can bring up arguments and problems. If there are weak links in your relationship or your money space, they're going to show up because that's the job of the retrograde. But if there's sweetness there as well, then sometimes a return of the magic occurs. So it's a good time to spend more time with your honey. It's not the best time to take on a new romantic relationship or a new financial relationship if you can help it, because you have these rose-colored glasses on as it relates to money and love and beauty and artistic things, expensive items and things like that. You're not seeing clearly, so you don't want to make big decisions. But trying things on, experimenting, making small decisions, being cautious is great. Learning and education is wonderful. Trying on something for a new profession, getting some information or education that might prepare you to do something in the future. All of that is fine for the retrogrades. We just want to keep our commitments to between 4 and 6 months, if possible. Also the same goes for a move. If you have to move or you're trying to do something different, when you move someplace, go into temporary lodging, don't get there and then buy a house, you're not seeing clearly is the whole point. And when Venus goes direct, you'll look at everything totally differently. So you want to make sure there's wiggle room with your arrangements you've made so that when you see things differently, you're not locked into too much that you then can't shift. See, that's part of the point. So it's an artist's wonderland. Retrogrades are wonderful for doing art. And they can even be great for selling art, especially when you're going back to people or doing things before that you've done for promoting it. Backing up files is one of the single most important things you can do during any retrograde. So many people are going to have their important things lost during retrograde. So if you want to spend the time doing this proactively, I always make these, do these videos early so that you can get prepared for the time. As soon as you're hearing this, it would be good for you to be backing up files and backing up anything and seeing to security and just kind of getting everything, all your ducks in a row that way. Some sweet energies that will be present, and you can see more about why I'm calling these sweet energies, what planets are at play, etc. when you sign up for my free email newsletter. So if you go to anniehelpsyou.com and you sign up for my free email newsletter, I do a write-up a month early, a written version of the energies ahead with more details about what goes on the certain days that make certain days bring sweetness, and then the challenging days. So the sweet energies are on the 9th, 10th, 11th, 13th, 14th, 16th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, and 26th. Okay, so 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 16, 20, 21, 23, 26. Now also remember when I give you these dates that we can experience transits before or after the actual day they occur. So it's like the days around these days, you can feel the energies that are true to the transits occurring on those days. Before I give you the challenging days, I also want to remind you, if you have already signed up for my free email newsletter and you're not receiving my monthly reports, there is some sort of glitch in many email services that put group emails into your social or promotions folder. So I send these things out like clockwork, like around a month early. Every month I always have, and I will continue to do this. So if you're not getting them, it's possible that they're going either to spam, to your social or promotions or events folders, and you're not even aware of it. So look in those folders and do a search for Annie Botticelli, and you should find some there, very likely. And then you move them into your inbox to let your Gmail or whatever it is, Gmail is infamous for this, know that you want those things into your inbox. Okay, so I've had this happen quite a bit. Okay, so the challenging days are the 2nd, the 5th, 10th, 22nd, 26th, and 27th. 2nd, 5th, 10th, 22nd, 26th, 27th. You might notice that some of these dates are ones I listed for the nice transits, and that is true because there are some challenging aspects that are happening at the same time as there are sweet aspects. So you might get, a mixed bag there. So the themes for the month: tiptoe water test, avoid the deep plunge, try things on, do things short term. You can make decisions as they relate to moving some things along, but not big launches, not big new things, not investing tons of money unless you have it to spare. Definitely check out my Venus retrograde video so you can understand more. The fact that Venus is in Aries through the month is going to make people want to be rambunctious and impulsive, and that's adding to this energy where you're going to want to do something, and it may or may not be the best thing to do. So be the spider. Let things come to you and leave wiggle room with how you activate those potentials. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see my offerings. I teach an astrology apprenticeship program, a course on creating successful online business if you want to be free of your geography and work online. I also have a new coach certification course that includes my online business course if you'd like to be a coach as your profession. I always have new things on my blog, so check it all out at anniehelpsyou.com, and I will see you next month. Bye.